Hey, I'm Zoe, and this is the Relentless Reset. No formulas, no fixes, just short, honest reflections on navigating the messy middle of growth and becoming. Let's be honest, this episode is really part two of the last one, but this is the step that trips up most people. So last time we talked about the truth reset, that moment when you finally admit, this ain't it. Today is about what comes next, because truth isn't the end, it's a threshold. Think about how many people almost change their lives or almost take that big chance. The difference between almost and lasting change is this phase. You've stopped pretending everything's fine. You've named the ache. You've absolutely faced something real. But now you need permission. Not from your boss or your parents or your partner, from you. And that's what this episode is about. What happens for a lot of high achievers is this. They tell the truth, and then they absolutely panic inside. Why? Because the pressure to make a plan kicks in. So you make a pros and cons list, you change the plan, you research 5 more options, you do something, anything. But here's the problem. Truth without the permission to pause doesn't go anywhere. Because without the pause, there's no space to understand. And without understanding, we are just spinning our wheels and we don't even know the problem we're trying to solve. That's the permission reset. Let's say you wake up with a fever and a sore throat. You admit you're sick, that's truth. But you don't just grab pills at random or book a surgery. You stop, you listen, you investigate. That's the pause that creates space for understanding. And once you understand what's really going on, once you have a diagnosis, then you can act with clarity. Clarity gives us the possibility for targeted treatment, intentional action. But so many of us skip this step. And in that decision, we give up our power. The moment before change often looks like indecision. But it's not fragility, it's not fault. It is a catalytic moment disguised in stillness. And for high achievers, stillness can feel unbearable. We confuse not knowing with not being capable, so we start outsourcing our answers. We surrender to that urgency, to the fear, to the pressure. We rarely give ourselves permission to ask what's underneath the pain or the discomfort. We just want to stop feeling it. We burn out at work and immediately update our resumes. But was it the job or how I was showing up in it? We end a relationship and jump back into the apps. But what was I craving that I didn't get? We get overwhelmed and chase productivity hacks. But what if the problem isn't disorganization? It's identity. In each case, the real issue often lives underneath the discomfort. Burnout might be about boundaries. Breakups might reveal unmet emotional needs. Overwhelm might stem from self-worth, not from time management. But if you don't stop to investigate that, you don't just have a productivity problem, you have a permission problem. We simply cannot treat what we haven't diagnosed. When we skip the permission phase, we try to execute without an objective. We try to solve before we understand. We try to fix before we've fully felt. And what's worse, it's exhausting. We pour energy into effort with no return. We spin and strive and tweak and hustle and end up more depleted than before with nothing to show for it. Not because we didn't work hard, but because all that effort was disconnected from what actually needed to shift. You might stumble onto a temporary fix every now and then, but ultimately you cannot resolve a problem you don't understand. That's why we pause, even when everything in us says we can't. To stop reacting and start understanding. So here's the reframe. Permission isn't passive, it's the beginning of power. Because without it, we default to old strategies. We do everything right, but nothing feels right. We move automatically without stopping to ask, am I solving the actual problem, or am I just reacting to make myself feel better? Permission creates space. Space to pause, to think differently, to listen inward instead of react outward. And in that space, we start to understand. We can begin to discern what's truly ours and what's been handed to us by others, what we actually want and what we've been chasing out of habit, what we're willing to feel and what we've been avoiding. That's clarity. Not from panic planning, not from urgency disguised as strategy, but from giving yourself permission to say, I don't know yet. I need more time. I want to reset my thinking first. Only then can we act from intention instead of fear. Only then can we solve the right problem with the right strategy. That's the quiet power we are reclaiming. The ability to choose our response with clarity, to direct our own energy toward what actually matters, and to live in alignment with what's true for us. That's the moment you stop being the passenger in a runaway car and retake the wheel. Last time we asked, if I were completely honest with myself, I would admit that blank. Now let's go one level deeper. Whatever you admitted, but I don't do anything about it because. Fill in the blank. What fear shows up? What story repeats itself? What do you believe might actually happen if you face the discomfort instead of just trying to outrun it? You don't have to fix the pattern today. You don't have to force a change. Just name the truth that's been living underneath the avoidance. Because when you name the real problem, you define it. And when you define it, you can begin to understand it. And once you understand, it stops shape-shifting. It's no longer a moving target. You find your footing. And that's the first brave step toward what comes next. So here's where we are. You told the truths. You paused long enough to feel it. You gave yourself permission to stop fixing and start understanding. And maybe now things are a little clearer. Not just what's wrong, but what's real, what's yours, what's ready to shift, and what might just be released. Next time, we're exploring what happens when this new clarity meets old conditioning. When you finally know what you want, but you still feel pulled to perform, because many of us have built our lives around what looks right, sounds impressive, keeps the peace. We chase achievement to feel successful. We stay busy to feel enough. But performance will never feel like peace. And it'll never be fulfilling because it's not you. It's the caricature of you created to earn approval and achievement. It's time to stop performing and start putting the real pieces together. I hope you'll join me next time.